SKT, tall order.
See what they have starting in picks and bans. Vladimir will be the first one on the list for SKT as Flash Wolves look right at Bang for ban number 1.
I'm also going to be looking at Wolf in this game. As he, we just saw that shot from him. He's concentrating on his own play.
Yeah.
He has been roaming a ton. Talk about playmaking. He actually only spent 4 minutes of the first 15 minutes of the game with Bang. This guy has been everywhere.
I just loved his play in game 1, especially where Faker obviously had a massive lead over Jensen in the mid lane, was zoning him off turret. But the backup for the ability to actually push in on top of the enemy's mid lane turret from the likes of Wolf roaming to mid, and when he wasn't there, Bengi was roaming through mid. All their players lined up, all of them were intelligent, and they had that ruthless aggression that SK Telecom have when they're on form.
This is going to be an SKT ban. They are able to ban Nidalee. And it is going to be over to Flash Wolves' side now. What will they decide? What is going to be the priority to keep away from
Cassiopeia is on the table and
Yes.
very high priority when there's been so many mid lane bans. With the early Vladimir ban, you kind of have to ban Syndra, as very few people have as much time on Aurelion Sol as Huhi, so maybe not willing to play that one into it. And with Syndra banned, then Cassiopeia rises because Syndra has been the best into Cassiopeia. So it's this domino effect of mid lane priority that has cascaded down, and they do indeed
There it
pick
is.
that one up very quickly.
And one wonders, has Maple actually put time into Aurelion Sol, which, as you said, was very much a niche pickup until we heard whispers around the boot camp where everyone was like, nope, we're spamming Aurelion Sol. We see the power. It's not just Huhi, not just Fly from KT Rolster. It's everyone around.
Yeah.
So that remains to be seen. It'll certainly be a contested pick going forward at Worlds.
Back and forth, Flash Wolves look for 1 and 2 on their side. Lee Sin has stuck, and I think Carson may be taking that into the jungle here. Just waiting on what else they want. It is going to be that Poppy.
Yeah, no surprise here. They've banned the Trundle, their last ban, kind of the counter there to Poppy, or one of the, just not even the counter, just very strong in lane against Poppy, and being able to steal her stats later, very big. So playmaking here from MMD up on the top side. They want him on something sturdy on the front line. He hasn't been the one to outright carry this team. That's been up to Maple and Karsa in the early game. Speaking of the early game, Lee Sin, such a polarizing champion here at the World's group stage. I mean, we've seen some of the most amazing Lee Sins. We've seen some not be able to accomplish much in the early game, and there's a very big difference. Karsa is one of the Lee Sins with a ton of time on the champion.
And we're going to see a jungle Olaf from a Korean team. As I said, the stat in the previous game, 0 jungle Olaf games in summer. Only 3 Olaf picks over the course of spring. Reyno, of course, famous for that pick, formerly an LCK jungler, but it very much left. It was extradited with Reignover, went over to Europe, then North America. Very interesting to see a Korean jungler on a Korean team play this Olaf.
And Blank especially, because Blank has been the one to receive the most criticism on SKT, and him on the Olaf. I mean, Olaf is also a polarizing champion. I don't want to say it again, but I mean, there's your hover there for your Maple Aurelion Sol, actually, Papa.
And coming back to Blank, just when we wait to see if it will be Aurelion Sol, is locked in. Okay, Maple will be taking it. Blank's best champion by far in summer was Gragas. Again, one that's not of those 10 and 3 was a very big pick for him. So we see the Nidalee banned away. That's what he played last time, banned on Blue's side. The Lee Sin takeaway. Interesting to see he's added Olaf to the pool, but will it be the Olaf, the Terra Olafs that we've seen so far this tournament?
We will get a chance to see what he does with the Viking. We're going to hop out real quick, allow Blank to change out his summoner spells, as it was not for him before in the champion select.
Ghost on Olaf.
Quick moment. Yes, Ghost Olaf.
You can do
is
flash.
the way you're going to do it.
If you're against Jarvan or something, maybe, but more often than not.
It's going to be that Olaf.
I say it's a 99.9% Ghost champion.
What about Ghosts? What about Flash Righteous Glory? That's sort of Ghost.
That's true. You guys are going down a path. I meant to say Bang, but it was still a great discussion. Thanks. Great job. So looking at what these guys are going to do, obviously they have shown, and I'm pretty sure we'll see the same as they were going through it. I'll get a note on that. That a very aggressive team here, if it is going to be that Olaf, it is going to be that Rumble, because he is just going to charge right through on the entire team getting slowed by Equilibrium.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're keeping the picks, and we're just going to pick up where we left off with those, and he's just going to change summoner spells. And I think they're actually pretty happy with that, because as far as Lee Sin into Olaf, the early game, Lee Sin's big strengths come from his mobility. viability and being able to choose an advantageous situation to then fight. Whereas Olaf has the actual stats to just have hand-to-hand combat with anyone and, uses the ghost to try and chase people down and just get the perma-slow with his axes.
I'd actually like you to settle an argument, Kobe. So both these junglers very much in his early game junglers. Lee Sin famously does his damage work earlier than more as a peel or maybe an initiator in the late game. Olaf, it feels, also peaks earlier, but who is the stronger late game jungler? Because on paper, you're like, okay, Olaf runs through CC, kills people, but doesn't really feel like that actually happens in competitive games very often.
That's such a mean twerk question because Lee Sin's late game viability 100% relies upon how good the individual player is, piloting him. If you are the one to be able to flank around in Fog of War, get the ward hop, Sonic Wave into the back line, kick
what you're
both
saying
AD
is that Meteos is a really good Lee Sin.
Oh, jeez. He's not even up there, man. But honestly, yeah, that's really the big difference. Olaf is so much simpler, easier to execute, whereas the margin for error on Lee Sin is huge in the late game. And yes, a lot of people will take Lee Sin and they'll be like, oh my goodness, I saw this on the world stage. I feel like I have no idea what to do in the late game because it's so difficult to see those openings, plan them out ahead of time and then react appropriately as the reactions of your opponents come out one by one in the late game. Lee Sin, one of the most popular champions, also one of the lowest win rate champions.
I guess the only small thing I'd say in defense of Lee Sin is that at least he can peel. At least the kick can be used defensively in the late game, whereas Olaf is famously very one-way, can fight next to carries, but isn't quite the Lee Sin in that way.
Right, that was one of the buffs that the balance team did to Lee Sin to try and make him, more of an all-around champion. So it would be easier for people who weren't quite as gifted, let's say, on Lee Sin, to also have a pretty big impact. He, on the ultimate, would you get that kick damage if you kick him through people, then they take more percentage health damage. But still, he's definitely still in that same spot where you better be good or you better have a lot of games.
And I feel like that plays more as well as we get into Worlds because it showed that people weren't playing against him much coming in, in Dynamite Q, whatever you're playing, but they were getting caught out by that kick, the flash kick, just the jump kick, that they're going to play against that better in the coming weeks.
I mean, Lee Sin has been the playmaking jungler du jour. Svenskeren has excelled on that. It was banned away, and TSM still picked up a win, but didn't have that same oomph in the early game. So it's always a happy meta when Lee Sin's around. Over in LCK, we had those two Lee Sin pickers, the two people that held out with the meta being elsewhere. But when it's available to everyone, the aggressive-minded junglers, they're licking their lips.
Yeah, and as we have some more time here, as we're still waiting on that switch out, we always have to bring in the team comps when we discuss individual champions because they're never in isolation. And Lee Sin does have a pairing with Aurelion Sol, talking about the mobility advantage and being able to choose your advantageous situation in which to fight, thereby, making up for some of the loss of stats that you may have in the 1v1. Aurelion Sol roaming. Lee Sin's great at capitalizing on those fights because Aurelion Sol, biggest thing he does is control a huge area within the skirmish. If you can have a jungle skirmish with Aurelion Sol at your back, it really opens up a lot of playmaking for Lee Sin.
As well, the Flash Wolves are looking, the previous game is hopefully a preview of what they're going to be able to do because it was Huhi and Xmithy with Aurelion Sol Nidalee. I think that's perhaps the most powerful of duos, but Lee Sin and Aurelion Sol certainly no slack either, and it's also Maple and Karsa. These two are the dynamic duo that have always been there for the Flash Wolves. So really exciting to see if they can actually have that early game.
And there is going to be pressure on them because, as we said, the margin for error is very low. And Olaf has Ghost, and he's going to have priority in the early game.
We all know what Olaf's going to do.
If you fight him in the heads up and you don't take advantage of these 2-versus-1 situations to try and both focus and DPS someone down, Olaf is a monster early.
I also like the Rumble pick against it as well because they're going to be coming in with the Lee Sin, with the Aurelion Sol, and you're going to have a red carpet to roll over on that's going to slow you down. So as well, that lets Olaf get into the back line. It's going to be able to do a lot of damage. We're just about to get ready and get back into the champion select. They are going to be the same up until that point with Bang's Summoner switch. So almost good to go. We are about to get into that SKT matchup, and we'll see what they can get done against the Flash Wolves. Back into picks and bans, you did see that Aurelion Sol get hovered by Maple, and it will be a lock-in.
Caitlyn also for the laning phase, looking for a complete bottom lane for SKT, and they're not going to respect the Caitlyn. Going to be going for the Sivir and Karma. Very much a compositional pick.
Yeah, another NL champion here, the Caitlyn.
And we got what we wanted.
The Ezreal. The Alistar on Sword Eye. There you go, Papa. He's definitely going to take that, and I definitely going to be the Thunderlords. This guy's the one to watch as far as Fog of War plays as well. And they will have a similar combo to CLG to see if they can actually pull it off in a similar fashion.
Flash Wolves spent so much time ahead, but when these Pokecoms didn't have engage. If you ever get a vision advantage with Poppy, Lee Sin, Aurelion Sol, and Alistar, the ping pong that can happen for the carries is unbelievable. This is definitely a comp that if it gets ahead can be oppressive to play against, because you even go up to your Raptors, you even go up to your Krugs, and you can be bouncy castle to death.
Definitely a tremendous amount of similarities. However, this time around, we focus so heavily on this Aurelion Sol because he had such a big impact before. On the side of SKT, they have Sivir and Karma. That's so much speed for the Olaf. We talk about Olaf, you know, and him going one way. That train is going to be moving very quickly.
The put all your eggs in the blank basket comp. I don't know about that one.
Not all of the eggs.
I don't know about that
because just behind the train is Faker on Cassiopeia. And that's a lot of DPS.
Makes sense. Support your team, or support the team of your choice over on Twitter. Hashtag SKT win, hashtag Flash Wolves win, hashtag FW win, that is. And we will see who gets the early lead in this one. We've seen that SKT is playing very clean, but Flash Wolves looking to make a statement here. Now 0-2 in the group stages versus that 2-0 of SKT.
I'm definitely going to keep an eye on SKT, see if they can use this movement speed to dodge the Flash Wolves' early moves. Because that does give an advantage, you know, in dodging the Aurelion Sol roams and trying to get out of the way of those spheres.
You just worry that if this Cassiopeia ever loses lane pressure, it's Faker, okay? But still, Faker ever uses his flash, uses his summoners, you cede map control to Lee Sin and Aurelion Sol. And who he gave us a great demonstration of what can happen.
This is actually my first time seeing that Olaf skin, and I am a huge fan. I'm definitely picking that up when I get back. I've been playing so much Olaf recently just because of Worlds and because you know, all the NA junglers are talking about it. There's actually quite a few small things you can do to optimize your early jungling. And that's one of the first things you should concentrate on if you are a new jungler, is just the PvE aspect. Because there's so much time you can save and so much health you can save if you think about the way that you're clearing these neutral camps, But
it's important to mention, though, to get that maximum clear time, the fastest clear time possible, you're pretty much kind of relegated to starting blue or starting Grom and taking blue on the first side. Starting the top side of the jungle, the red side of the jungle as the Olaf does actually impact your speed of clear. So that is actually extra information to the other team.
So blue does help tremendously with the clear speed, but he also has a very effective Krug side route that quite a few people have been trying out. And it does allow him also to stay healthy if he wants to, because one of the things is everyone expects Olaf to get low in the jungle, right? You talk about optimizing
that attack
time. Exactly. The passive, you want to get more attack speed. Sometimes if you're expecting the route, and it is, you know, this common route of blue buff over down into the bottom side, which is the quickest, you can try and catch him on a camp at low health, and Lee Sin's got execute damage.
I've been tracking the Olaf, learning about it since, again, we don't have it over in Korea till now. And so far this tournament, it has been purely blue side strat, so blue side start for the Olaf. So it'll be interesting to track as we move forward whether people will get interesting with their pathing on Olaf.
You cannot get predictable, especially if you are going to get low health. Here we go, though. Maple playing the Aurelion Sol, same fashion. You want to get those orbs passing through the minions as well as onto the enemy champion. Get wave control. Now he can move up. This helps out with the jungle pressure. We already saw him steal away some of the small raptors, which is honestly one of the biggest things about playing mid lane recently, is how quickly you can shove your lane up to try and take away the small ones, since there's so much gold in it. You know, you hurt the enemy jungler, also gain a lot more pressure around that mid lane. It's actually interesting. The bottom lane got pressure, so SKT got a deep ward as well into the blue side of Flash Wolf's jungle.
If you lose map pressure on the bot side and also Aurelion Sol leaves, that's the crescendo of problems. But bang, level 1W pushed up the moment the minion wave came in, and that's what let them actually have the free space to get this information. Maybe this will be a very early transfer for Maple.
Yep, should be a pretty easy handoff here. Karsa doesn't use mana, so he's just going to give it over. Meanwhile, the Olaf, like this from Blank, moving up to the top side here, going to try and ping on the Raptors, but Flash Wolves as well, expecting it, have their own ping. Blank takes the Krug, which has been, or the Scuttle Crab, excuse me.
Rivington's finding it very hard to actually not keep a straight face as we see that big chunk of ham being thrown out.
It's a great skin.
He's going to hit him with the T-bone going towards the top side. Let's see. Too bad we don't have the Lollipop on MMD, but Sure, Blank will find a little bit of trouble soon here from Karsa.
I saw the future. It was the Krug indeed. He finds it all along.
Oh, a good tag. Sonic Wave resonating strike is a thank you very much from Karsa.
That's a huge boost to morale when you find someone counter jungle. You
Wasting
take it
their
away.
time.
He snags it with the smite there as well. It's gonna be a pretty big one.
Let's see if he keeps tabs on him. They got the ping in. It says I'm going here, and I bet he is too. That push up on Maple makes this nice.
Yeah, the mid lane control, plus the respect just given in the 1 versus 1. There's no way he wants to take that fight because Cassiopeia can join very quickly, but also he doesn't want to go toe-to-toe there, as Blank was still very healthy on Olaf. As Olaf is going over to the Gromp right now, one of the other optimizations you can do is they change the axes. Actually, he doesn't have it against the wall. So what happened now is that if you throw your undertow and you hit a champion model or a jungle model, it will automatically place the axe on the further side of that model rather than ending within it, which you used to be able to do years ago. Which makes it a little bit longer to pick up the axe. If you have it against a wall, though, it can't go into the wall. So you can instantly pick it up. You save like a second, literally. It's a very, very small thing, but it can help you out and makes you feel better.
Second is a lifetime in League.
It actually can mean the difference between a successful gank or, the enemy jungler getting into position early on in the game. But honestly, we've been talking about this so long just because...
That's all right. This is our first approach to the bottom lane here a bit after a little back and forth. 5 minutes in, there's really no CS lead really around the map. Maybe a few towards the top lane as MMD had to get pushed off his turret. But what a close game here to start.
Maybe Karsa gonna actually impact the bot lane. Maple, importantly, didn't have enough gold in his first back for the Swiftness boots. Sword Art.
There it is.
Wolf gets pushed back. A little bit of a lead for SKT, maybe nullified here, but Bang quickly gets in way, puts up the spell shield, and denies the damage onto Wolf a little bit. Well done.
Slight advantage as they gain 3 summoners to 2. However, they did show Karsa on the bottom side as well, and he's got camps up. So this is one thing as a jungler, you always have to keep this in mind. If you're going to go gank that other side, you have to worry about your small camps. There is a ward here that's a defense that Maple, I believe, placed that ward in advance earlier, but it's still going to cost him a camp. Every time you go for a gank first, worry about the small camps on your opposite side. Blank going with the very standard tax, basically, for a bottom side gank, and Olaf has a level advantage.
Even gets a refresh on the Raptor buff, so 2 wards cleared out from that as well.
Oh, Faker coming over for the chunk as well. Another ward here for Blank. Those do give a little bit of experience as well now in addition to the gold, so racking those up. Plus he's got a very easy clear now. He stole away the Raptors, can move into his blue quadrant, 2 camps, then his red quadrant will respawn, so very, very clean here from Blank so far on the Olaf.
So I was watching Duke. That does not look fun for MMD in the top lane as he's just getting cooked up. A little back and forth here as Karsa's on the backside of Faker. Voice of Light from Maple. There is no ult from Karsa, so Faker flashes over the wall. They're going to be able to connect first blood, though.
Really nice stuff from Karsa. Good pathing, waited on the Q, followed the flash. Excellent mechanics as expected from this duo. And Maple and Karsa getting going is what so often helps Flash Wolves grow these gold leads they've been getting consistently. Maybe not converting, but obtaining nonetheless.
One of the differences between having Blanking and having Bengi is almost always there. When Faker goes for these aggressive trades, like look at this aggressive trade. Faker has no vision on the top side there, and he's going up to the turret basically, taking 50% of his health before Karsa is even spotted. And then we talk about the mobility of Lee Sin, still has the flash because he used Ward Hop to get into lane. Great capitalization there. That's the duo that you set up about carrying this Flash Wolves team. Maple, Karsa, they find the first blood.
Yeah, Voidless wasn't in position to pull off those sort of plays yesterday in that game, but as you say, no Bengi to cover. Like we mentioned, Bengi and Wolf so often on the front foot in the mid lane in the first game of the tournament for SKT. Suddenly, Faker, no summoners, and this is where really Lee Sin and Aurelion Sol can get down to business.
And Lee Sin really needed that because, as we were saying just before, Blank was slowly winning the jungle fight by the camp advantage, right? He still has the farm advantage. Lee Sin needed to make that play because he had just taken Raptors. There was nothing left for Karsa to farm. and it was a very, very good and opportunistic gank there from Karsa.
17 CS in the jungle is certainly no slouch. That's only jungle monsters the lead was. We're talking about around 5, 6, 7 camps. So some gold from the first spot involvement. As MMD is not having the most fun up top.
Ooh, nice little play from MMD to get some breathing room at the turret. Looks like Duke will back off here. You guys are talking about summoners down in mid. Maples as well are forced to get that kill, so there may be a repeat from Blank to try and get something back for Faker. That mid lane becomes a bit more dangerous.
Taking an Aurelion Sol summoners, it means something, but it doesn't mean that much, just because if the lane ever gets in an awkward spot, just back, buy something, whether it's a Dark Seal or another Doran's, and come back to lane, and your opponent eventually has to push up to punish you for being out of lane.
Yeah, I do think that is definitely somewhere SKT should pressure, because Olaf, the one thing he doesn't have is the hard CC for the ganks, right? So mid lane, if you push him up to the turret, you know, it can force them back. That's a great thing for them, because if you stay at your turret, this Olaf is level 7. He has Ghost, he has his ultimate, he can charge under there. Flash Wolves, though, camping around mid.
Pressure down towards the bot side, as well as Karsa revisiting mid lane. And it doesn't look like anything will come of this as Faker dodges out left. A little tussle in the bot lane. Nothing really came of this other than a little bit of damage on the turret as Bane goes back for one last love tap.
Rome starting bottom lane there, though. They just shoved in Faker, and then you see the feint here from Flash Wolves. They start to move down. SKT noticed this because Faker just said, hey, they pushed me in, and they just went into Fog of War. You guys need to back off right now. So they do accordingly, and SKT don't lose any more ground. Even with that first blood going over, SKT still holding this lead. Rumble up top is bullying, and of course, the jungle gold that you mentioned.
You see Duke on the screen finally. It's only a first purchase, looking like magic penetration early. Some people like to go for the proto belt. Other people just prefer to go the old school build of the double magic penetration. I'm expecting to see some magic resist as the next purchase from it. But you're not on a timer like most Catalyst champions. Not Rod of Age is necessary as a first buy, but wow, actually much more aggressive than that. Rushing on the Sorcerer's Shoes and not worrying about a Spectre's Cal or any magic resist as an early buy.
Yeah, upgrading your boots is so important as Aurelion Sol, right? That's why we saw Hui go with the boots of swiftness even so early on in the previous game. So definitely need to prioritize getting to level 2 boots as quickly as possible. And he's actually chosen for the extra damage here. We'll see how that, you know, does turn out for Maple, as he hasn't gotten the early kills. It did go over to Lee Sin, so he's trying to make up for a little bit extra damage here with the flat pen.
Looks like they're going to try to work on this pink ward and see if they can get any deeper vision. They will find themselves a blank, which gives some great knowledge to the rest of the map. MMD knows he's safe for now, getting pushed in.
Blank.
That's 2 camps now.
Karsa,
Stolen in front of his face.
Trying to go for one and then taken from his own resources. And it looks like Flash Wolves do get a nice push in for that vision, maybe act off of this in just the next few minutes. It's going to be a Cloud Drake up first, and no rush for that. Oh, taking Faker back. He did just get that flash shot. They're trying to time it. Throws back.
Oh!
The ultimate.
Faker's
dodging it. Looks for the movement speed from the Noxious Blast, but it's Maple that's faster. Karsa gets out mid lane with the hop to a ward, and Blank is on a hunt.
Have we counted to 10 here? Is Maple going to get off this execute?
I think he's good. He's good. He should be good.
He actually should be able to execute by now. The worst thing is when you miscalculate that. If you go it a little early.
You're speaking about calculations. Faker actually turning around, doing damage, avoiding the spheres. I have never seen such a turnaround. It looked like it would be easy kill, get out, but the replay shows it was so much closer.
Yeah, look, he pops the ghost so that he can play the hokey pokey here. 1 foot in, 1 foot out, trying to kite through.
He's on 100 health.
Oh, that turn on Maple too.
He gets the extra speed boost from landing his Q. So it was really good, and he tried to buy as much time as he could, but bottom lane!
We're not done yet, boys. Ragnarok is on, and Blank calls for the stars. They're going to be able to get the kill done on NL. Blank's out, bangs out of this one. Keeper's verdict knocks him home, and that's going to be Wolf's call to get out of this one as well. He picked up a kill after everything in the bot lane, and SKT is being relentless right now because Faker is getting attacked.
Even getting camped, he shows his class, though, in that play. You won't see that too often, but Faker knows his limits oh so well. Ashwell's setting her up around the red side. I guess an earlier dragon is possible for them. Blank, he's just dead.
That's exactly what we talked about. The advantage of Lee Sin is being able to have that mobility and choose your advantageous situation. You watch Olaf walk into his jungle, predict that he's going to start his Krugs, because Olaf doesn't back when he's low health. And
but you look where the minion wave was crashing. I think he would have been happy with stealing a Krug, but he got a Olaf instead.
It's like, I'm just going to counter jungle more. Oh, people! Maple down to the bot, flashes right on to try and get the double stun, but they spread. That means they only get a wolf. Good enough, as Flash Wolves head bot lane.
that's the thing, right? You know, jungling is so much about good guesses and playing off the expected natural behavior of your opponent. And, you know, this move here from Karsa, he is not going for a Krug steal.
Bonus!
There is this little guy here. Might have peeked him.
You just say good guess. It's educated guess. It says, wow, okay, Flash Wolves, keep up the pressure.
Very, very fast early game. And that stat's going to be switched around here for SKT. A few more minutes being behind, and gold will be added to the board for them. Now 5-1 with a 2K gold lead at Flash Wolves. They put the AD carry support topside, and they're going to start pressuring Duke.
SKT, the only thing they can really take from this early game is that at least all the gold has gone to Karsa. Never ideal to feed anyone, but Lee Sin of anyone is who you want from the side of SKT.
That's actually such a good point, because that's what I say every time in ranks when I'm getting destroyed by Lee Sin.
No handoffs. Lee Sin's getting the gold, all right.
Coming up on 15 minutes, Flash Wolves poised to make some more moves. And this is what the question is. Can they continue to make moves from that lead? Can they push it forward? Or, once again, a team like SKT could stall them out very easily in the mid game.
It's certainly nothing disastrous. 1,600 gold in spite of the 4-kill lead. So certainly not writing off SK Telecom in any way.
Absolutely.
And Faker getting camped is ahead in CS over the Aurelion Sol.
I am definitely anticipating some more proactive moves from Flash.
Flying Gates, the second time Maple has dodged that. Will there be a follow-up? Keeper's verdict off to the right side as Faker ghosted out to safety.
Woo. The dance moves on Faker sometimes are just outstanding. The first game on the Syndra, he was doing the same thing against Cloud9 when Meteos was coming through the mid lane, and he's had to do it because everyone from Flash Wolves is rotating through Faker's lane.
Truly, you know, pop the ghost, snake-like movements here from Faker, dodging multiple
Or appropriate
ultimates, exactly.
That's all right. Faker sheds a little skin, gets back to lane. He's good to go. And good to fight one more time. 138 to 136, like you said, he'll come back to that lane, still be up in CS since Maple was just able to close the gap. And Duke holding on to that turret as well. Bottom lane has been lost, but it's the 1-to-1 turret trade across the map here for both teams. So the focus changes to now mid and top side.
Yeah, 4 members of SKT moving up here, as they call it blank up as well. Duke is going down to try and catch that bottom wave, and Flashwell is actually trying to collapse here.
Watch Karsa.
Yeah, the one cautionary tale for it, it's, you know, it's not that bad, all the gold is going to Lee Sin, is if you're the support, because you're under level, and Lee Sin can one-shot, can combo you with the ultimate available, so definitely be cautious.
I mean, he knows his role. Look at the boot choice, gone for the summoner spell cooldown reduction. Obviously, regular cooldown reduction is a massive for Lee Sin's pick with how the energy system works, but the insect flashy plays that Karsa certainly fits under his the potential to make is basically what's going to be the story. So we'll see if he can translate his early lead with the big plays on the likes of Faker or Bang.
Well, look what it's translating into already. More damage. He's gone with the semi-offensive build here, the Hex Streaker on Lee Sin. Karsa is not messing around.
He wants to keep making those plays, wants to be able to thread himself maybe into the entire team of SKT and find Bang or find Wolf once again. Faker is even an option as well, as the pressure to the mid lane closes in, but relieved quickly as Flash Wolves see there's nothing to grab here.
At this point, Faker's wondering where Bengi is, where his double pink wards on both sides and cover all game is at, because Blank, certainly the comp does work around him. Touch on a Kobe, double speed up, turbo Olaf might be the reality in the late game, but it always feels better if you're SKT to set up around your Cassiopeia rather than your traditionally underperforming jungle.
And I'm most looking forward to Turbo Faker, actually, with the dodges.
Okay.
He's already pulled off with the Ghost. More speed on Faker. We'll see what he can do in the team fights.
Definitely knows the limits of his champions. One last Q saving him almost from his second death, I should say first death in mid lane. plays it out to the last second. We'll see, being a bit aggressive here as he knows there's a fight going on towards the top side. Flash Wolves don't feel like they have all that much control over it. Nothing worth fighting for here. AD carries to the top side to continue farming. We still haven't seen any love for the Dragons and Baron spawns in a minute and a half here. Both teams are kind of just jockeying for position and see who would really take the fight first.
Quick check-in says that Karsh is perhaps the most manly Lee Sin. He's actually rushing more of Malmortius as his first completed item. That's very high on the damage side of things.
More focus on Faker. This time they're bringing 3.
Oh, beautiful flash. Saw it coming as well. Said things are a little too quiet. But now Faker Summoners both down again.
I mean,
and
Faker in this game is the protagonist in an action movie. Bring me more bad guys, he's saying out as everyone is coming through mid lane.
Usually it's the solo carry trying to say, team, please. But now everybody watching the game is like, SKT, please. Faker's challenging everyone. This time he does get away. But as you said, Riv, the Summoner's now gone.
Yeah.
I think they do need to try and compensate.
The hover from Blank as well, much more around the mid lane, but seems to be gone for the seconds that Faker continuously gets attacked here.
Now let's talk about where this game is at, because we've been looking at the
close.
individual mechanics in Faker, sidestep skill shots, but Flash Wolves, gold lead, very slight. Flash Wolves have had control, they've been setting up around mid lane. Still none of that forward vision that never was there in their last 2 games that we criticized them for, crippling them from actually making super aggressive plays. You look at the SKT side of the map, smattering of wards, 1 ward on their side and no more.
Exactly. The Aurelion Sol pick they've actually used for lane dominance, bringing Lee Sin over and over rather than, making a bunch of roams over to the side lanes. They do have the 5 kills on their name, but as you said, the gold lead that they earned, they haven't been able to build on it.
It seems like they've kind of have kill Faker on that checklist of #1, and they don't want to do too much until that happens again. They can get mid-turret and go forward. We'll see if they set their mind on anything else here. Blue back over to Maple, which could just mean more focus there as he's going to be able to push mid and may need some safety for that. Clearing up his...
That was an Aurelion Sol in the last game, so working on that with probably the Rylai is going to be the second item completed for Maple.
Ooh, definitely going to need some safety. He stays at bay and doesn't get himself too close. MMD is going to start cleaning up the bot side. Actually did, and he backs here, so it might be SKT picking up that first strike.
Wow, 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
They didn't take a Drake for Flash Wolves. They didn't get off of some high impact roams, and SKT actually get the first Drake. They're very happy with how this game is going because as you transition later and later towards the team fights, Cassiopeia will do way more damage than Aurelion Sol, especially considering SKT have so much move speed to dodge out the Aurelion Sol abilities.
You just kind of have to check in. Was the plan of picking a champion that ditches lane so well with his jungler and then ganking mid lane actually the correct use of the resources? Because at times it looked very good. They very much jumped to a 5-to-1 kill lead. But since then, the game has stalled out to the point where it's 1,500 gold, and we're getting closer and closer to the time where SKT really shines.
And everyone also, watching this game is hyper-focused on Flash Wolves late game because we've seen them twice get early game leads and not be able to close. So everyone's going to be very critical if they're not able to pull it off again, and it doesn't look like the proactive plays are coming. One good thing, though, that we do need to point out, they just made an incursion into the blue quadrant of SKT's jungle, and they have started to get some of that deep vision. That is a long lane. That's where, they have these 2 side turrets down. There's a possibility of trying to make something there, but they just have not been pulling the trigger, even with Sword Art having that Alistar we talked up.
Yeah, the Alistar has been laning. 0-0-0 Alistar at 22 minutes. At this point, Mata have made many incursions around the map, but only been at ward acquiring and playmaking in general. Just not been possible for Flash Wolves. SKT have kind of held fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's the lesson that we highlight over and over again. Everyone always talks about vision, right? Oh, and they always cite wards placed. But it's so much more about fighting around and planning around the vision that you do have rather than just placing a whole bunch more. If you fill up the red or blue quadrant of the jungle and then don't maneuver your power over to that side, it doesn't mean a whole lot. You have to play to the vision that you have and play around the vision that you don't have.
And you just think of a different game where they blew the Summoners of Faker early. Maple took trips down bot with his fed Lee Sin. They managed to at least kill Bang & Wolf or at least ward up the red side jungle. And then the Drake that went over to SKT would never have been possible because all the control would be on the bottom side of the map. Setting up around the top side of the map and maybe killing a Rumble of all champions who has very cheap build doesn't have the same oomph to it than shutting down a bot lane, delaying Sivir's items, and monopolizing a tangible objective.
And right now, SKT, you know, they're going in to clear out that vision. So there was that small opening, but they've got the pink wards, Wolf and Blank roaming together. They move in as a duo to fight the vision wards, each one holding one of the entrances to the jungle, and there they've cleared out all the Flash Wolves vision.
Karsa, a little pressure so Maple can make it out safely. And like you said, SKT was able to clear all of those wards the work Flash Wolves had in place are just set back a little farther this time. They know they can't defend any of the pink wards, so the vision goes down immediately. 4-0-1 Karsa has also slowed down a bit, as like you were saying, Papa Smithy, neither him or Aurelion Sol went to the side lanes. None of that resource was given to the rest of the lane to snowball. Flash Wolves are now left kind of even with SKT, who look very poised to make something happen.
Yeah, and I do think that's an issue. Here's their move against Faker, but they pull up because the vision that they had set up 2.5 minutes ago was already cleared out by SKT. So they don't have that option anymore. That was a play that they might have been able to pull the trigger on a minute previously, but SKT cut them off, Faker is protected, and they continue to farm.
Where we heard this story before, Flash Wolves take out top turret, they take out bot turret, they think about wards, they find they can't get more. Mid lane turret stays up longer than you would have expected given the early game. Pretty much it's a flashback to the IMA versus Flash Wolves game that was extended because they couldn't really find ways to end the game. And then Faker's rotating through mid, then Sivir rotates through mid. Flash Wolves have just been stifled after some really amazing early game creativity.
Yeah, and now we turn our sights towards SKT. You know, they're waiting on another item here for Bang to really be able to make a move, but they've actually stabilized their own side of the map now. And this mid tower being held up, even though Faker was camped so heavily, just takes away a lot of the options that Flash Wolves want to go with this comp, you know, with the Lee Sin and Aurelion Sol combo. Now they kind of have to wait for the contingency plan of Caitlyn traps, you know, lay that down and hope that they can outplay. They still have a lot of good playmaking abilities. As Smeb demonstrated in the last game, Poppy can turn the numbers of a team fight very quickly. If MMD gets a good ult and they turn the numbers into a 5-on-3, then you know, you're gonna have to dodge a lot of skills to come out ahead in that matchup.
Always love when there's a huge gap between the fights. The items created aren't really being tested. Nobody knows how much damage you're going to do right away, so usually you get somebody popped immediately in a fight, or minds are changed as soon as the engagement happens because of that amount of front-end damage. Look at Duke. Duke hasn't even had an equalizer yet, and he has 3 pen items. He is going to sting.
SKT, they have Blank completing, or Bang completing his Infinity Edge now, and they immediately go aggressive. Invade the red quadrant, move up towards the top turret. Faker is pushing. And as well, Duke, as you mentioned, he's now level 16 with the teleport, ready with Rumble. SKT have regained pressure on the map. They waited 27 minutes to do it.
The question is, do they create it for themselves, or was the strategic inflexibility of the Flash Wolves what was granted to them? Because it didn't feel like they were in a position at one item to really force anything, especially when we have, again, this Aurelion Sol with 2 mobility summoners. Instead, predictably, Flash Wolves pedal on the accelerator for 10 to 15 minutes, taking it off, and SKT basically granted a pathway back into the game.
It'll be very interesting to see if that is ever changed, because they come out of the same games, hearing the same things, seeing the same things, right? And
you can only imagine the coach Riv just being like, "Come on, guys, we talked about
hit that wall."
Things. Maybe they need the 3 days, 4 days off to VOD review because it feels like, despite the fact they've had, you know, those hours left in the day, the extra scrim they would have done. Maybe this is the play finally.
Whoa, Faker bashed up against the wall. Voice of light right in his face. Faker goes down. That's 50 seconds on the clock. This is where Flash Wolves have been trying to hit that accelerator. You were talking about Papa Smithy. Wolves going to keep it here, and the rest of the team is going to focus up to the top side.
This should be 2 for Flash Wolves. Let's see if they rotate by Baron. They can try and bait it out. The thing is, SKT have plenty of vision surrounding this whole thing. So SKT might be able to stop this. NL setting up the traps.
So much importance on the Rumble here. Level 17 hasn't put down an equalizer yet.
True. Flash Wolves inside the pit, and they're fighting him up. Oh, Blank ult already.
Yeah, already. He stepped on the trap.
Early.
Trying to eat up the cupcakes, Baker Blank. He wants to eat them up, and it's not going to be enough. He is now out of the Baron pit. The equalizer goes down, and that's going to hurt Flash Wolves. They have to decide whether to stay, whether to go, and the Baron goes to Karsa.
Great ejection there from MMD. Poppy ultimate does get him out, and they only have to burn that flash on Sword Out to escape. Very good move from Flash Wolves. We were getting a little bit worried for them, and they did take their time, but eventually the ward left on the top side of the map in the side rush. They get Faker.
Yep.
They chain it into Wolf and a Baron as well. They need to make this a big Baron power play.
It's so great to see. Faker, of course, gets baited going for those last auto attacks. Did not expect the pink ward and the vision.
Wow.
Stuck for so long, and deletion damage, not even with the full build-up damage. He already has magic resist in the build now for Maple. Wolf lives for a while, but nothing really to do for the rest of SKT to stop this Baron, and the equalizer, when we do see it, wasn't what it needed to be.
Definitely need to give credit to Flash Wolves. After so many questions and criticism, it did take a long time, but they pulled it off.
Oh, Wolf gets caught out doing a little warding. He goes down immediately. No summoners used on that, but he just came up from going down in the top lane.
Now we look for a Baron power play. Remember, still only 2,000 gold between these teams. Many summoners still available for SKT. Flash Wolves need to take this mid lane turret that's been haunting them all tournament.
Definitely difficult against the wave clear of Sivir plus Cassiopeia. Meanwhile, MMD actually, yeah, I got a hiccup there, but they should be able to use this Baron buff to at least get down the mid turret. And we talked about how the mid turret was stifling so much of the playmaking ability of Flash Wolves and so many of the options. This will be crucial for them.
The reason why it's so important is you look at a champion like Poppy, needs to find a flank, needs to find an area to come in on. If you don't have that mid lane turret and SKT, you know, the Baron's down, there's very few angles you're ever going to get where SKT's going to walk up far enough for a big teleport play to happen.
Here we go, SKT pulling the Sivir ultimate.
On the hunt, should have a jump to safety if he wants to get it through Sword Art, but Karsa's gonna stay for this one. Doesn't decide to get out and goes down.
Classic, you run on ahead without me, I will go down, I will pay for this one. And Karsa does give up his life. Now, that was also a kill bounty, as Karsa, we talked about him being fed in the early game, had 4 to his name. SKT with a decent chunk of gold there. They're able to get back. But again, the main objective, the biggest thing where for Flash Wolves, they got down that mid turret.
An item choice here by Wolf. Actually rushed Ardent Sensor as his first completed item. We usually only see this at this point in the game from, say, a Karma going for the Athene's Ardent Sensor early power spike build. Bang has already got a lot of attack damage, and it gives him a bit of attack speed to really get the most out of his kit. Power on a budget for Bang, basically.
Hey, whatever they can get right now, it seems like the bank has been a little dry for them as the kills aren't coming up. Bjergsen's, what? Faker's CS has been matched. Where's my brain at?
Faker Bjergsen, same, right?
Right, the same people. Maple to 300 now, just hitting that cap, but it's Duke, 326, still waiting for him to kind of pop off on this Rumble. And like you said, the first ultimate wasn't really everything that SKT was looking for in that Baron attempt. Now a 1K gold lead just about going over to the side of Flash Wolves that could easily be closed by SKT. It's just at what point?
Consider how small this Baron buff power play is. We've seen over 5,000. It's about to time out. 1280 gold, I think, has to go on record as the lowest Baron buff power play, as SKT, even against Baron, continue to stabilize.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to think about the stress that comes with playing against SKT, and Flash Wolves are being very cautious. Again, a lot of the vision that they've worked to try and get as well during that Baron has, you know, started to time out, and SKT have started to clear it out. They are not letting Flash Wolves move into their territory.
It's really hard to separate respect from, again, the indecisiveness that's plagued Flash Wolves so much this tournament. The scouting report on LMS for summer was that the games had slowed down. It's gone from modeling the LCK, going towards modeling the LCK in the slower game times rather than perhaps the old LPL image for more of the fighting. So it wasn't unexpected for Flash Wolves to be more methodical. It's just the fact that there's a difference between being methodical and just never looking for an opening and actually creating a win.
Definitely true. We got some stats guys to get back to us on your Baron power play there, Papa. Unfortunately, it's not the lowest of worlds. However, the average is over 4,000. So comparatively, very low.
Usually a small Baron power play is about getting a Baron against the run of form and stabilizing. So when they actually were ahead in the game to only pull out 1280 gold is an upsetting thing for a Flash Wolves fan as about Drake.
This has been one of the biggest things, how SKT were able to get Dragons while even behind. Here it's going to be a spike fight, though.
Things heating up. Karsa's going to grab that one as MMD looks to come in. But that's just going to be the mid lane. They say we'll close the gap here. Could have actually kept pushing on that top side.
They didn't actually have deep wards to come back from flanking around the Raptors, so bet on SKT going to the mid lane. They obviously adjusted and moved away, so could say the teleport is wasted. Remember, Duke still does have his teleport available.
Very true. It is an easy walk for MMD down to the bot side to do some janitorial duty on that lane. It actually doesn't look like Duke's going to be leaving here.
Wow,
he knows they have the teleport. This is when SKT goes for the fight and tries to push off Flash Wolves, but they also have that idea. Play it safe if MMD's teleport is down.
Yeah, Aurelion Soul's pretty fast. Also, if the Ghost ready to pop there.
Karsa, casual steal.
Again, he's been nabbing a lot of jungle monsters away from Blank, and Flash Wolves get the move over to the mid lane to finish it off.
Karsa being a fantastic nuisance, if you will, to SKT.
Three-man coming towards Duke.
Here comes the proactive play. Maple going to be the first one to join the party.
But this is what the Duke deserves. You give him a party, three's a crowd. Here comes the rest of Flash Wolves. 9-2, coming up on 35 minutes in, and Flash Wolves making a big statement here in the point of the game where they usually just fall flat.
What's next, Rip? That's the question we start to wait for.
The more has to keep coming.
Better, but it's already 35 minutes into the game. It's kind of gotten to a bit more of a plotting stage. We still haven't seen Karsa make the big pick to justify the Lee Sin in the late game. Sure, the early game went well. We talked about the fact that he was the one picking up the gold. He's got the CDR boost. His flash is up. We need to see that premium pick on Bang or Faker. Otherwise, it's going to go back to wave clear wars. And if Sivir's involved in that war, it's certainly going to be a war of attrition.
Whew. Remember in past worlds, when we'd see SKT down a few thousand gold, 3 or 4K, and you could cover the names up and not know who would still be kind of winning that game. Or I'm sorry, you could cover the names.
Gonna wait for it.
And say this team is gonna win, not this one. With SKT, it's a toss-up, but right now, being down in gold is not doing them any justice. They cannot mind game the Flash Wolves and continue to go down. 45 seconds for Blank. It doesn't look like it's going to stop for Flash Wolves.
Good trap line there, and Poppy is running interference. MMD, this is the same strategy. Really good defense of Baron. Flash Wolves turn their pick into a second Baron.
Absolutely crazy.
They definitely need to go bottom. There's a huge wave right now. It looks like Rumble's going to clear it up, so Flash Wolves can go straight down mid, try and get this inhibitor turret line cracked.
I mean, Blank considers himself a tank. He's built a tanky build. He's got the Ragnarok, but he's the only one looking for vision. It's Flash Wolves.
Right onto Wolf and Faker. They go down immediately, opening up Pandora's box. Flash Wolves makes their way into SKT's base. 11-3 now. 37 minutes, just waiting for Duke to come back up so they can take him down again. And the base is broken for SKT.
Huge advantage here for Flash Wolves. The giant minion wave bottom forced Duke down there. He wasn't there at the beginning to defend. And Flash Wolves, you wanted them to push that go button, pull the trigger. Sword Art does it on that Alistar, immediately goes for the engage, and they opened up an inhibitor. But still, SKT haven't lost the inhibitor, and they're still fighting.
The Zerat and the Tri-Brush, very nicely done. Flash Wolves have an extra man on the field now. No penalty. Bang will find it and take it down. Nice and quick.
Zerat portal cleared out for now. Pretty much fits in pretty happily to a Poppy build. We're going to see that replay. This is the Flash Wolves we're waiting for, and I think it required Sword Art to go back to the Alistar. First Alistar of Worlds, most played in the regular season, and suddenly someone has the balls to go in.
Yep. Flash combo there from Sword Art, and immediate follow-up from the rest of the team. They get Duke almost into that inhibitor, and they finish off that turret crucially before they leave. However, SKT, they still have not really had a fair 5-on-5 fight. as Blank was the one down before that entire series of events even came about.
Coming back to Sorta, I think we've kind of done the Flash Wolves narrative a little bit of injustice. So we talk about Maple Castle, mid lane jungle, but the missing part has been Sorta. They're known as a 3-man roaming team, and Alistair is that 3rd man that makes picks. MMD, he's got a lot, but he's very tanky.
Yeah, and
Uses the
Flash Wolves are going up mid, though. They're going to go for the inhibitor.
Beautifully done. They hit Faker back. That really gave MMD time to think and breathe. The damage was pushed out of the fight by Keeper's Verdict. And you're right, Kobe. Flash Wolves are starting to act immediately on these opportunities.
They have Baron buff, so you have to respect your open inhibitor is a huge weakness, and they immediately, SKT, pull off of MMD. Flash Wolves still are able to claim a turret because of it, and the 3 waves of super Baron buff out minions. Not super buffed up, just the normal amount of Baron buff here.
Tons of games.
Does earn them another turret. But again, SKT, they make you work for it, right? Flash Wolves are kind of crawling towards the finish line here.
Yeah, crucially, that inhibitor still doesn't go down. We're getting into very much the late game, 40 minutes coming up soon. They can continue to turtle. If the game, once again, for the 3rd time for Flash Wolves, goes down to basically a single or maybe handful of team fights around even gold, then you're ripping your hair out as a Flash Wolves fan and analyst and increasingly the players on the stage.
At this point, you feel like it almost can't happen. You would hope so.
Thank you.
Maple coming in, the shooting star is there, the team will follow. That means the inhibitor's down, but the grand show is just for the little bit.
That is one way to brute force an inhibitor, let me tell you.
He could literally stun the entire screen there from Maple. I actually want to see where he started at. Was that actually the starting point? The point of origin was in the fountain, straight down mid lane there from Maple.
That really felt like one of those theory crafting, how big can they get moments, but at Worlds, casually.
That was the Kamehameha.
Super cash.
Spirit Bomb finally built up and they got the inhibitor.
Oh, man. Well, that means the rest of our fights are going to take 6 more episodes, so let's get into one right now. 40 minutes on the clock. 12-3 as they start up the Elder Drake. Lead for Flash Wolves, and these are the moments where SKT can get back into the game. The cupcake traps are laid. Blank's trying to work around him and dodges one, has the Guardian Angel to stay in the front, and Elder Dragon equalizer laid out, not hitting too many. It's going to Karsa. Flash Wolves look for the fight with MMD in the back line. Nobody gets stunned up, cannot be disabled on the side of Blank, and they're onto NL on the backside. Fight as well. Wolf and Sword are going head-to-head in the support war. Karsa takes down Faker after both the summoners are blown, and Nats Duke falling. Flash Wolves have eyes on the base.
They're gonna do it! Flash Wolves against SKT. They forced the smite fight at the Elder Dragon, and now they're chasing down the kills. Wolf has nowhere to go. MMD is on him, and Maple closing in his sights. But Wolf has won fast karma.
It's no longer a one-tournament anecdote, ladies and gentlemen. The Flash Wolves are looking to close out for a 3rd time in a row against SK Telecom. Look, Peel is 2 games in a row, but no team at Worlds is going to go 3-1.
All right, Bang, what do you got? Nexus turrets are being hit up. Flash Wolves, 41 minutes in, never giving up this time. Looking to put themselves on the board here in the first week of Worlds, and it's gonna be against SKT in the group. Flash Wolves take down SK Telecom.
Could it be any sweeter? The questions were there. Analysts at home and abroad. Why can't this team finish? And look, we were right there next to them. We were like, I'm watching this. This looks eerily like the last 2, but they made that big play on Faker, auto-attacking slowly on the outer top lane turret. They crucially snowballed from there. They stuck the landing, and Flash Wolves are on the board.
Exactly. The magnifying glass was on Flash Wolves because they've been in this situation so many times, but honestly, SKT were not able to regain control after Faker was so heavily focused. The Karsa Maple combo starts it off, and even though they're methodical and very cautious, they complete this time. They hit the Elder Dragon. You're looking for justification for that Lee Sin. He's got execute damage. They secure the smite.
And I think we have to talk a bit about Blank, because on the Olaf he wasn't convincing, but let's think about the 2 games. Bengi back to pathing jungle, covering for Faker. Think of the game that Blank won. It was on Nidalee and actually getting and invading and being that battle ward. Then we come to this game where Olaf can do the same thing. We've seen Smithy, we've seen other Olaf take that battle ward duty. This was not the game.
And you said even the picks for Olaf towards the LCK were few and far between.
Not zero in summer.
Right, exactly. And the Rek'Sai was still left up. Maybe something didn't want to run. Obviously, the comp is thought out beforehand, but it definitely didn't look like what Faker needed in the mid lane as well as what Blank wanted to go on.
If SKT are going to play Rek'Sai, they're going to play Bengi. They thought that they could have the dueling jungler and Blank. He did it on the Nidalee. He could not make it work on the Olaf.
Honestly, regardless of champion choice, I would not be surprised to see Bengi coming back in for the very next game for SKT. Faker especially, he was doing everything he could with pretty much no jungle presence, and Karsa was just taking advantage of him. That's the duo of Flash Wolves that we always talk up for their games, and it went unanswered. Faker trying to 1v2.
What about the three, though? The trio, Sword, that big engage to finally take an inhibitor on the Alistar. It's what they were losing. That was what they were lacking. And he came up big on the champion. He's known to make those engages on.
It's been absolutely ridiculous. Expect the unexpected is the world's motto here coming into 2016, because that was another group where you had 2-0 versus 0-2, and that win comes out and starts to spice things up a little bit more in the group. So we're going to hand it now off to Shox, who's standing by with Flash Wolves jungler Karsa.
Thank you very much, Karsa. Congratulations. First up, you got to tell me, I remember asking the Flash Wolves the exact same question at MSI, but how come you guys are the only team that seems to be able to consistently beat SKT?
我先跟你讲恭喜，然后我要再问一次我在 MSI 问你的问题，就是为什么感觉闪电狼总是可以打败 SKT？
我也不知道啊，因为我们绰号就叫韩国队杀手吧。
I don't know why either, but our nickname is the Korean Team Killers.
Yeah, there we go. At all seriousness, you guys had a rough 2 first games at the tournament. You guys got ahead, but had a really hard time closing out games. Why do you think that was?
他说感觉你们前2场比赛都有领先，可是很难终结掉比赛。那你觉得是为什么？
就是我们队伍沟通上有一点小问题，我们在优势的时候没有办法够拿下胜利，所以这2天输了以后，我们也检讨了很多，才能够在第3天的时候今天拿胜利。
So there's definitely some miscommunication within the team. So when the first 2 games when we had the lead, it was hard for us to close out games. And we did some reflection and we looked into the communication. So that's how we're going to come out with the win.
It worked great today. You had some fantastic play on Lee. Lee Sin is becoming very important in this tournament. Who do you think are the best Lee Sin players here?
感觉李信在这次世界大赛越来越多被重用。那你觉得最厉害的李信是谁呢？
最厉害的李信哦，职业选手吗？我想一下哦，最厉害的李信，我之前觉得是卡靠。
He thinks it's Kakao.
Okay, Kakao, and then they all think it's Karsa, and I think that you did amazing in this game. Congratulations. The Flash Wolves taking home the win over SKT. Take it away, Dash.
Thank you very much, Shox. SKT's Kryptonite strikes again, and now every single team in this tournament has dropped a game in week 1. What's happening, guys?
In the first little mini round robin, it's insane. But at the start of the day, we were saying, hey, anyone can beat anyone except Korea because they're 6-1.
They were.
Now, if Cloud9 wins the next game, NA will also be 6-3 up with the LCK. So this is really a crazy first week.
Yeah, and I think that, we're watching that game, and one thing just came to mind. This is the day that Korea learns that Aurelion Sol is a must-ban in this tournament, or at least take it away, because that fell way through, too far down the draft. And one more time, whilst a good early game, they looked stagnant in the mid game, and then Aurelion Sol was just everywhere picking up the side lane kills.
And the time that they actually got that inhibitor was with that massive queue coming in straight from downtown. They're able to zone out the rest of SKT and push down middle. But the entire strategy about Flash was just pressure Faker nonstop. Everybody go to the mid lane, just make him blow as many summoners, but to his credit, wow, watching Faker dodge so many abilities, who's better than this?
I don't know. I mean, that dude is an absolute monster in the mid lane, but I love this point about the attention that was paid to the mid lane by Flash Wolves, and then I want to contrast that with Blank, who seemed relatively absent on the map for SKT. So if I'm going to throw criticism anywhere, it's got to go there. He just looked lost.
Yeah, another time where Blank is just, looks like he's being dragged from lane to lane throughout the jungle. He doesn't get to pick his own path. And early game, when he was ran into the Lee Sin, which if Lee Sin burns his Q in the jungle and you're an Olaf, you can 100% take that team fight. His lanes had priority, and they just weren't willing to pull the trigger. They don't want to fight around him for some reason.
Yeah, and that was the weakness we saw for SKT coming in the first 2 games. That didn't seem to be evident. In this game, it was blatantly obvious.
Right, and then, of course, Crumbs, you talked about Aurelion Sol picking up side lane kills, and that's what kind of was able to break that stagnant mid-game for Flash Wolves. I do want to take a look at the 2-0 in the top lane. This is a TP in on Faker as well as Wolf.
Yeah, this is where the game kind of breaks open. This is a really nice flash stun by MD here, and they're going to be able to finish him off, and Wolf just overstays here, and he's going to get picked off, and this is why Flash Wolves takes a Baron after.
Yeah, but what I liked here is that Flash Wolves actually used their teleport to create a proactive play, which is something they weren't able to do in the 70-minute match they had against C9. And coming into this game, we were suspending our disbelief that Flash Wolves didn't have that much of a chance against SKT, despite them being the closest team to SKT as far as how long they can hold the gold lead for. Well, they finally found a way to close a game and play the mid to late game, and that just makes all of Worlds, but specifically this group, break wide open.
And the really interesting thing about Flash Wolves comp is they actually had very good side lane pressure. I mean, it's hard to shove Poppy out of a lane, and then, you know, Aurelion Sol just with the high mobility. And whilst it looks like SKT's team comp can 5v5, against Caitlyn, Aurelion Sol, it is nearly impossible to dive that backline. So NL just would have been safe. SKT ran out of options so early in that game just because of how far Karsa put them behind.
And it's just what happens when you run the Olaf. If you can't find anything early in the game, by the time you reach mid-game and late without an advantage, you're just basically dead weight.
Yeah, we saw the difficulty for SKT in trying to operate within team fights in this final fight. And I want to take another look at the game-winning fight around the Elder Dragon. This is presented to you by Acer once again.
And the biggest thing for this is that MMD has actually kept Duke, who is incredibly fed, out of the team fight. And it's a bad equalizer that doesn't really cut off anything. On the back end of this, I mean, they're able to pick it up. And it's just cleanup kills with... They get on top of Faker one more time, who looks to make the play. But SKT looked all out of sorts.
Yeah, I think they're out of sorts here because they had the Karma and the Sivir. If they didn't want to fight here, they didn't have to fight there. They could have still fallen back, maybe given up a second inhibitor, but make Flash Wolves earn it. Don't walk into them once they have Elder Dragon.
Exactly. This is so uncharacteristic from SKT, a team that we know can stall out games like no other, that can wait for that final team fight and make the other team just work for that victory. Here, they just seemed like they were completely lost over the map, getting caught over and over. We saw Duke in the bottom lane. In the replay that we saw earlier, it was Faker and Wolf getting caught out, and that's just not what we expect out of this team.
Yeah, Flash Wolves now 3-0 against SKT, 5-0 against Korean teams as a career stat for them. So it was mentioned on stage, they are the Korean killers, or so it seems for now. Is there any learnings, though, from this game in terms of what, say, C9 or IMA can do in dismantling SKT further down the line?
I think it's fairly important to try and make sure that the control junglers are off the table. The ones that can ward and babysit the mid lane seem to work for SKT, and they always have throughout all of their existence. But if you're actually able to get the jungler onto something like an Olaf, or even a Nidalee isn't super effective for them, I think that's hugely beneficial.
I think another thing that's really important to take away from this game is that I really like when teams are drafting compositions with multiple playmaking players. Not just, oh, here's just one guy that's going to allow us to actually create something on the map. On the side of Flash Wolves, you have the Alistar, you have Aurelion Sol, you have Lee Sin, you have Poppy. Everybody can make something happen, whereas on SKT, who can really come up and say, hey, this is how we're going to pick a fight? And it just makes the game so much more reactive when you go with a composition like that.
And, you know, we saw it a little bit at MSI, but I think that that's still true. You just can't win a lane versus Faker 1v1. So why try? Bring 3 people into the lane, you know, get the Alistar in there, get the Lee Sin in there. He's still a man. I mean, he's fantastic at the game, but you can beat him if you bring enough people.
Very much so. All right, player of the game is going to go to Karsa here. This one was a tight one, but ultimately that 4-0-1 start for him on the Lee Sin, helping to get things rolling early, and that's the major reason why he picks up this player of the game. Now, of course, before we hit the break, I do want to make a correction to an earlier statement. 25% of sales from the Championship Zed and Ward skins will contribute to the world's prize pool. It's 30% of the sales from Summoner icons that will go directly to the teams that inspire them. So pick your Summoner icon and flash your logo flare in-game to directly support your favorite League of Legends organization. Now, Cloud9 and I may go head-to-head after the break, so stay with us.